In this video, I am going to solve this problem where we have a triangle ABC, and that triangle, the angles of that triangle hold this condition true. Cosine of C minus cosine of B minus sine of A is equal to 0. If this condition holds true for this triangle, then this must be a right triangle with the right angle being angle B, which is angle B is equal to 90 degrees. So let me just sketch it here. So this is my triangle ABC, and it satisfies this condition, cosine C minus cosine B minus sine A is equal to 0 for these three angles, angle A, angle B, and angle C. We need to show that angle B is 90 degrees. That means this is 90 degrees. That's what we need to show. To solve this problem, I am going to use these three formulas. Sine of 2 theta is equal to 2 sine theta cosine theta, which is the double angle formula. Then cosine of alpha minus cosine of beta is negative. So there is a negative here. Negative 2 times sine alpha plus beta over 2 times sine alpha minus beta over 2. And the fact that the sum of the interior angles in a triangle are 180 degrees. So that means angle A plus angle B plus angle C must be 180 degrees. So I start off with the given condition, which is this one, cosine C minus cosine B minus sine A equal to 0. Then I add sine of A to both sides. That gives me the following. Okay, so basically I move the sine of A to the right. Now on the left hand side, I am going to use this formula, and on the right hand side I am going to use this double angle formula. If we do so, I get the following. This now the left hand side is just straightforward application of this formula. For the right hand side, note I have done the following. Sine of angle A is equal to sine of 2 times A over 2. I can write A as 2 times A over 2, right? Because 2 cancel out, that gives you A. Now this is kind of like the double angle formula, which is this. So that's going to give me 2 sine of A over 2 times cosine of A over 2. That's exactly what I have on the right hand side. Now there is a negative 2 here and positive 2 here. So I divide both sides of this equation by 2. If I divide by 2, I get this. Now at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something with this information. Sum of the interior angles is 180. I have B plus C divided by 2. I'm going to replace it by pi over 2 minus A over 2. If I do that, I get the following. Now how do I get this thing for this? Let me show it to you on the side. I have A plus B plus C is equal to 180 degrees or pi radians. So if I divide both sides by 2, I get A over 2 plus B plus C over 2. I just put them together is equal to 90 degrees or pi over 2, right? Remember, 90 degrees is pi over 2. Now I could write B plus C over 2 is equal to pi over 2 minus A over 2. I subtract A over 2 from both sides. So this is equal to this. So that's how I get this guy from this guy. Now I'm going to use some property of trig functions, and I'm going to simplify this. You probably remember the following. Sine of pi over 2 minus theta is equal to cosine of theta. That's a formula you probably know. Now this sine of pi over 2 minus A over 2, I can write it as cosine of A over 2, which is this guy, right? And then everything else is the same. Now look, there is a cosine of A over 2 here, cosine of A over 2. Now I can divide both sides by cosine of A over 2 because cosine of A over 2 is not 0. Okay? That's the assumption, so that we don't divide by 0. So cosine of A over 2 is not 0, and we divide both sides by 8. And if we do that, we get the following. We get negative sine C minus B over 2 is equal to sine of A. Now you probably do remember another property of sine or cosines is that sine of negative theta is equal to negative sine of theta. Okay, I'm going to use this formula and I'm going to simplify it. So I could write this as sine of negative c minus b over 2 is equal to sine of a over 2, right? Now if I distribute the negative inside the parenthesis, is going to be b minus c over 2 is equal to sine of a over 2. Now these two angles must be equal, which says, or if I can apply the sine inverse, if you think of it that way, I'm going to apply sine inverse to both sides. Sine and sine inverse are going to cancel out. That's going to leave me behind with b minus c over 2 is equal to a over 2. Now I multiply both sides by 2. So multiply this left side by 2, right side by 2. 2 cancel out. That gives me b minus c is equal to a. Now if I add c to both sides, that's going to give me b is equal to a plus c. Now this is important to know. Now this says that the given triangle, which is, let's say this was my given triangle, a, b, c. In this given triangle, angle b is the same as angle a plus angle c, which tells me that this angle must be 90 degrees, right? Because you can see, I can quickly show it to you. B is equal to a plus c. Now I can add b to both sides. So add b to the left, add b to the right. That gives me 2b on the left is equal to a plus b plus c. But I know that a plus b plus c is 180 degree. So 2b is equal to 180. So that means b, if I divide both sides by 2, I get b is equal to 90 degrees or pi over 2. Now let me quickly summarize what I have done. I have been given a triangle with the property that cosine c minus cosine b minus sine a equal to 0. I need to show that angle b is equal to 90 degrees or it is a right triangle. I use these two properties, sine 2 theta double angle formula and cosine of alpha minus cosine of beta formula, and the fact that some of the interior angles in a triangle is 180. I use these three properties and the given condition and simplify it and come up with the final answer that angle B is 90 degrees. I hope that this discussion was helpful. Thank you very much.